The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm your host, Rebecca Miller, along with, of course, our co-host, Otto Lohse. Good morning, Otto. How are you?
Good morning, Rebecca. Doing good, and hopefully you are.
I'm doing well, thank you. It seems like your technical difficulties are in the clear, but we won't mention it again. So you're looking good.
So. I needed a Zoom update.
But glad everything worked out. Of course, also we have Christina Liu. Christina is our radio show producer and, of course, the director of Senior Citizen Affairs for the Department of Services for the Aging, Project Independence at the town of North Hempstead. I said that in one breath, so all that working out's been really good for my lungs.
I'm impressed. You're like a rapper, Rebecca. That was very impressive.
You like that? You like that? Yeah, good. And of course, Dan Cox, the executive director, and who just keeps everything going for us at 88.1 FM. And WCWP.org. So thanks to Dan. Our guest today is Gregg Balbera. And Gregg, you've been a guest several times on Project Independence and You, so we're really happy to have you on. Gregg is a certified senior advisor and also the owner of Right at Home Nassau Suffolk. So welcome again, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me back. Always a pleasure to speak with all of you and to your community as well.
Great. So if we could just start out with just giving us a little bit of a background on Right at Home Nassau Suffolk.
Sure. So Right at Home, I have owned for 10 years with my wife, Eileen. We are a licensed home care service agency by the New York State Department of Health. So we service the North Shore of Long Island, providing all types of different services, from companion services to personal care services to specialized services such as hospice and Alzheimer's care, Parkinson's care for our seniors and mobility challenged adults here on Long Island.
This is all within somebody's home, right? It's not a facility, it's your home.
So that's a great question. So we take care of people in the home. That being said, probably 25% of our clients actually do live in either assisted living facilities or independent living facilities. Sometimes we take care of people while they're in hospitals or rehabs, somewhat of a bit of what we call like a sitter service, providing an extra level of service. Oftentimes when people, make that decision to move out of their homes and go to assisted living facilities or independent living facilities, which are great. And for those people who want that, those are, great choices. But if they have certain challenges, if they have cognitive decline or physical limitations, they still need some one-on-one care, be it for, 4 or 5 hours a day or sometimes 24 hours a day. So we're happy to help people wherever they need help.
And
So
Gregg,
it's not in your facility, it can be in any facility.
Correct. Our care can take place anywhere.
Right.
So I love the subject matter for today, which is so important. I mean, aging alone and maintaining your quality of life. So it's a very positive theme because there's so many things that people can do to live alone. And I was reading through a lot of the stuff that you had sent us. But one of the first things is you talk about is quality of life, which, everybody wants to have a quality of life and it's different for everybody. So your services really are kind of catered for the individual person, and which is very interesting. So you have to really provide a lot of different services. How do you start out? How do you kind of evaluate someone who might reach out to you?
Sure, those are great questions. So, as you said, every patient, every client is different and has a unique set of demands, goals, wants, and needs. So, most of our initial consultations with clients usually take place over the telephone. A lot of times we're getting calls from spouses, from adult children, from neighbors, could be from guardians, anybody in the spectrum of who's caring for a loved one. And we, either my wife or myself, we usually take those inquiry calls. And over that call, which can be anywhere from a half an hour to sometimes 2 hours, a lot of times we're letting that person do a lot of talking, because we can really surface a lot of information. And then we try and kind of layer in certain questions where we're not necessarily getting all the information that we possibly need to get the the required information to develop a care plan for a client. So from there, once a person decides that they want to move forward with Right at Home, either myself or we have a full-time RN on staff, we have a full-time social worker / client care coordinator on staff. One of the three of us, if sometimes maybe more than one of us at a time, will go out and visit that client either in their home or in a hospital, in a rehab, meet with the client. If they're in a hospital or rehab, oftentimes we're getting additional information from the case management department or the social workers, the doctors at those facilities. Oftentimes, again, we're meeting with their loved ones in that setting. We're just trying to get as much information as possible to make our assessment 100%. We want to provide a care plan that really is unique and tailored to every individual. That being said, care plans also change.
Right.
The care plan that we develop today, if someone has Alzheimer's or they have Parkinson's, unfortunately, those are diseases which really only get worse over time. So the care plan will have to change over time.
I found interesting, I went on your website, which we should give the information, but you have a lot of really valuable guides on there. And there was one area in particular where you talked about what you do when you talk to the people when you're screening, basically finding out what their needs are. There were a couple of checklists that you had on there where you personally try to assess the situation as far as your loved one is concerned. And I looked at that, and I'm involved with a family member right now with a little bit of an issue. And I looked at this list, and it talks about hearing, vision, perception, orientation. And then it says, do they need some help, no help, a lot of help, or whatever? And it really makes you think about what the situation is as far as that person is concerned. And probably be great if people did that before they talk to you.
It would certainly be helpful. And just so you know, our website is www.rightathomeli.com, RIGHTATHOMELI.com. And yes, we have a lot of different guides, screeners. We have a lot of blogs on specific topics that people can access. But yes, if people go on, and a lot of people do go to our website first before they call us. So we are finding more and more people are taking advantage of that type of tool before they call us. Because a lot of times most people are not doctors and they're not social workers. So they don't necessarily always have a true understanding, especially of things like dementia, Alzheimer's, even Parkinson's. It can be very upsetting topic. It can be a confusing topic, and also a lot of loved ones can oftentimes be in denial. Oftentimes, I ask the person, does your loved one have cognitive decline? And they'll tell me, well, they have short-term memory loss and they're confused, but they definitely don't have dementia. And fact is, oftentimes that person does have dementia. There's many different types of dementia. There's Alzheimer's obviously makes up the biggest portion of it, probably 60% of dementia cases. But there's also vascular dementia. So someone who's had strokes or TIAs, people who have Parkinson's, not always, but a lot of people will have Lewy body dementia, and that can be different type of cognitive decline, including hallucinations associated with that type of dementia. So there are different dementias. Most of them are not treatable. Maybe the only one that is, if someone has a severe vitamin B or D deficiency, that's maybe the one and only situation currently with today's medicines and whatnot, where if they improve their vitamin D or vitamin B intake, they can actually eradicate some of the symptoms of dementia. The other ones that I mentioned are not treatable at this point with the medicines and remedies that are available.
Another thing I really like reading about too is your focus is with these services is not only to offer the services to help people get through certain things, but it's also to offer independence as long as we can. And that, and I love that because that's what our program, Project Independence, is about, is to safely help seniors age in place, and the seniors of the town of North Hempstead. So we're here for them, and some of the things that you do are not necessarily some of the things that we do, but we can also inform people of right at home and what you do. So, for people that are listening and might have family members that could utilize some of these services are ideally to help you stay home safely. Granted, there are cases where it's not, and that takes a while to be determined. But for the most part, the services are really to help you stay at home.
Absolutely. So, statistics and surveys show that 80% of people would prefer to age in place in their home. So as you said, helping someone maintain their independence to the extent possible is really, our primary goal. So what that means is, for argument's sake, if someone has spinal stenosis or severe arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and they can't stand for long periods of time, they may no longer be able to cook for themselves. Obviously, being able to cook and provide meals for yourself is, one of the most major things someone would need to do to remain independent. So our aides all cook. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to do all the cooking on their own, right? When we're preparing a meal, slicing, dicing, getting things ready, that can be done at a kitchen table where the person is sitting with our aides, and they can be part of that process. Now, maybe standing in front of the stove, putting things in and out of the stove or the oven, removing things, they may no longer be able to do. But there are, as I just exemplified, there are things that they can still do as part of that process so that they can feel as independent as possible and remain home if that's their desire.
Right, like even give directions how to make something,
Absolutely, yep. Yeah. Listen, some of our aides are fantastic cooks. Some of them cook more towards their, ethnic backgrounds.
Right.
And many of our clients have different ethnic backgrounds, but a lot of our clients will basically self-direct the aide. They'll tell the aide, this is the meal I want to cook. Go to the fridge, go to the pantry, get these items out of the fridge, get these items out of the pantry. And they will, get that stuff again, sit down at the table, put that stuff together, put it in the oven. So so the clients can definitely self-direct, especially the ones that are, are cognitively able to do so.
Right. And then it also becomes more social for the person living alone. And, you could stretch it out and make it a longer meal, or, just kind of engaging the senior and keeping them engaged.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, companionship is a big part of the services we provide also. It's not just the physical and the cognitive, but, many of our seniors are because they're living alone. And, AARP came out with a study a few years ago that shows on average today, the adult children live on average 280 miles away from their parents, which means that they probably have no one, nearby on a regular basis. So the companionship that our aides provide kind of, can take the place, of an adult child who can come and visit, daily, weekly, biweekly, whatever it might be. So that's a big part of the services that we provide also.
Yeah, one of the hurdles I see is that some people just don't want another person in their home for whatever reason. They're not comfortable, they don't trust them, whatever. How do you try to overcome something like that?
So that is a fairly common question that we get a lot from both the client themselves and the children, that they feel it can be intrusive to have someone in their home. So a lot of times it's that initial conversation that we have when we go and we meet with them and we do that assessment. One of the things that we do at Right at Home also is whenever we start care for a new client, again, either myself, my RN, or my social worker will always be at that first shift. This way we're introducing the caregiver to the client. Obviously beforehand, we've told them, we've given them information. The client, we've given information about the caregiver, their background, the types of activities and services they can provide. We give the same information to the caregiver. We want them to know about the client. Are they a retired teacher? Are they a retired police officer? How long did they work? Where did they grow up? What's their background? Do they speak different languages? So when we go and we have the initial introduction, someone from my team will be there. We find that helps oftentimes to kind of, because now they've already met either myself or they've met the social worker or the nurse. So by that person being there and then introducing the caregiver, a lot of times that can kind of break down some of the innate fears or reservations that person might have about allowing somebody in the house. So we'll usually spend a half an hour or an hour on that first shift, showing the person around the house, introducing them, talking about what the person would like to get out of the services. That definitely goes a long way. Now, that doesn't mean that the person always loses all those reservations on the first time. So for some people, it's definitely more of a process. But we generally find that once people open up and most people really don't want to be alone all the time. They don't want to sit in their house watching 20 straight episodes of The Price is Right. So if that person is there and they can do projects with them, they can, sometimes our aides drive, so they can take someone out, whether it's to a doctor's visit or drive them to a local senior center, drive them to the library to get a book, see other people, go food shopping. Sometimes it's just to take a walk around the block. You get a beautiful day in the middle of the winter where it happens to be 50 degrees and they can sit out in the backyard or go have lunch in a park and watch the kids play on the swing set. Those kinds of things can go a long way into improving someone's mental, outlook on the whole on life and just, their situation. So that makes a big difference for people.
Greg, you mentioned the care plan, which all these little things that you just talked about. I would assume you set up a care plan ahead of time where you kind of define what the goals are, what you're going to try to do. How does that work? I know you do the assessment and you have the conversation. Then do you now say, okay, here's what we propose as a care plan?
Correct.
So maybe we'll get to that response. We do have to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We will be right back.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto, Lohse, Christina Liu, and Dan Cox. And today we're speaking with Gregg Balbera, who is a certified senior advisor and owner of Right at Home, Suffolk, Nassau, and Suffolk. And we're getting a lot of great information. Otto, before break, you were, I know that Gregg was about to respond regarding a question you had about care plans.
Yeah, basically, how do you go about establishing the care plan? Like we just talked prior to the break about things like going to the park or whatever.
Sure. So as I said, the care plan is a constantly evolving organism, to be perfectly honest. So the basis, again, for the care plan is we have that initial phone call with whoever is making that phone call, the client themselves, their loved one. From there, we do an assessment in the house. Again, that's usually my RN. Sometimes it's my social worker, sometimes it's me. And then we get a lot of feedback from both the client and from the caregivers. So the care plan is kind of, built a lot initially, and then over time, it's constantly evolving. We're constantly, tweaking it based on the, the needs and the desires of the client.
Is that a written plan or is it?
So yes, we keep a written copy, in the client's house. But we also have a software system here, in our office where we're constantly updating it. All of our caregivers also, we have an app. So every caregiver has an app on their phone. So when they go to their client, they're clocking in and clocking out. And when they do that, for each shift, when they clock in for each shift, it actually lists all the items on the care plan. So if that's prepare meals, do a med reminder, help the person shower, drive them to a doctor's appointment, whatever it might be, everything is on that care plan. So, and then at the end of the shift, they go through and they check off what items were done and what items, might not be done. So some items might not necessarily be, if a client has care 7 days a week, they may not need their laundry done every day. Now they need a meal done every day. So there are certain, but they go through every item. And then we in the office follow up and make sure that those items are being properly executed.
Now, does the client have access to that as well?
Correct. Yes, they do.
Right. Okay.
One of the things, go ahead.
No, I mean, so the creation of the care plan is really a pretty important part of the whole process.
Absolutely. It's probably it's the basis for the whole relationship, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
So absolutely.
So one of the things, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but you had mentioned in the beginning that you started about 10 years ago. So I'm really always interested in the difference in, I guess, the clients, the growth, because, all we hear about, and we know because it's factual, that, with the baby boomers and seniors living longer, the population of seniors is, I want to say exploding, but it's the biggest population we've ever known for people in the age group of 60 and, into the hundreds. So 10 years, 10 years is a census, right? So I'm curious where you started. When you start out, obviously you're not exploding, but what have you seen? What's the growth? Is it a lot more older seniors? And I know that you also assist with people with disabilities, but I'm interested just in the senior population at the moment.
Sure. So actually, right around the time when we started was right around the time when the baby boomer generation started turning 65. And so we are right now basically right in the middle of this 20-year period where every day 10,000 baby boomers turn 65. What we know is that people are living longer, mostly through better medicine. That doesn't necessarily mean they're living longer for, some people are, but most people are not living longer because of better diet or better exercise. So the better medicine is keeping people alive longer, but they're not necessarily living better quality of lives. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people, today versus 1970, there's a lot of people who are eating healthier, exercising more. So there are people who are living longer for those reasons as well. But again, 10,000 people turn 65 every day. So yeah, that's really the core of our of the client base for our home care agency in the United States here today.
Right, but I'm 65. Most people 65 that I know are still working. They're
Correct.
Still in the workforce, and but they're coming. Everyone is definitely getting older. We had a guest on last week that talked about lifestyle medicine. So that's like the focus of their practice is I don't know. Are we allowed to say integrating, but bringing, but almost like using the word medicine not to mean actually medicine, but just the medicine for life, for change, bring, aging well, aging healthy, and that kind of a thing. So that too is, coming up, which is definitely a good thing.
How about the reality of the difficulty of getting aids compared to when you started, or even going back further? You read it all the time that, this is a difficult position to fill. How do you go about doing that? And do you provide training on top of it, or?
Yep. So, getting aids has been the biggest challenge since we entered this business 10 years ago. And today it's even more challenging for a variety of reasons. As an agency, what that means is all of our aides are actually employees, not independent contractors. So unlike when someone hires somebody privately, everything we do is legal. It's on the books. We're paying the payroll taxes for all our caregivers. All our aides are bonded. They're all insured. They're all background checked. They're all drug tested. We do that on an annual basis at a minimum for every caregiver. So, and because we personally have about 200 plus aides on staff, God forbid an aide were to call out sick, have a family emergency, just decide they don't want to work anymore, we can basically almost always provide a backup or a change of aide. COVID has kind of taken this situation, the shortage, and made it far worse, especially here in New York. In October of 2021, New York State mandated that everybody in the healthcare industry, of which obviously we're a part, so doctors, nurses, OT, PT, home care, everybody had to be vaccinated for COVID. So what that did was there was probably 15 or 20% of the workforce that decided, well, I'm not going to get, vaccinated. So they weren't able to work in this industry anymore. So when you take a severe shortage, and now you say, okay, well, now we're going to have 15 or 20% of that number, and they're not going to work. It makes the shortage, significantly more challenging. We use a lot of different tools. Hopefully, I think for us, maybe the biggest tool that we have is because we've been a very successful agency for 10 years now, and we're highly rated. Our caregivers love working for us. We do a lot of employee rewards and benefits and whatnot. We get a lot of referrals from our current employees. They're constantly referring their friends, their fellow employees. A lot of our aides will work not just for us. Maybe they're also working at a rehab, an assisted living facility, independent living facility. Because we're such a high-rated and desirable agency to work for, they're happy to refer and recommend their friends to work for us. So we find that to be our biggest source of new employees.
So you would probably have employees who are sort of part-time, where they say, I only want to work so many hours, and then you have people who want to work full-time.
Absolutely. We run the whole gamut. We have, some employees who are looking for, 20 hours of work a week. And then we have others who are looking for 40 plus hours of work a week. Sometimes the part-time people end up really enjoying working for us and decide they want to work full-time. As I said, a lot of the employees that we have might be working either in a hospital or a rehab. And in that situation, they could be providing care to 8 or 10 or 12 people, at a time per shift. Where with us, it's really more one-on-one work. And I think a lot of people, when they come to work for us, they actually really like the one-on-one. They really get to know the person. They're building that personal relationship over time. We've had employees with us now for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Some of them have been with one client for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Then when they really build that relationship, they almost become like a family member, if not, like a de facto family member. So that type of relationship becomes so important and so heartwarming on both sides of the spectrum, the caregiver and the client. So I think that's a big difference between working for us as opposed to working for a facility perhaps.
You also, I read somewhere that 24/7 is an option that you would provide?
Yep. So we provide care anywhere from 4 hours a day to 24/7, 7 days a week, and everything in between. Again, everybody's care needs are different. We have, some clients who really just need some companion care. Maybe they need us 3 days a week for 4 hours a day. They need someone to do some laundry, some light cleaning, help with some meals. They cook today's meals, but they can also prepare and put some meals in the fridge or freezer that the person can heat up, on days when they don't have care. Maybe they need someone to drive them food shopping or to the library or the doctor's appointment. And then we have other clients who are on the other spectrum, they're on hospice care, they're bedbound, or they have advanced, dementia, advanced Parkinson's, and they really need that one-on-one care. They cannot get through their day without having, an aide with them one-on-one for the majority of the day, if not the whole day.
So typically, though, would this person be like a live-in at that house, or would you have different, like a team of aides that would make up the 24 hours?
Great question. So we actually offer options. We always like to offer options. So for a client who is sleeping through the night and doesn't need care at night, we offer live-in care, which, to be honest, is roughly about half the price of 24-hour care. Someone who is awake at night and needs care, if they have a cognitive decline and they don't realize that they can't walk without a walker, they're going to try and get out of bed. If they would get out of bed, they take 2 steps, bam, hit the floor and fall and, be at risk of injury. Or perhaps they're a wanderist. Maybe they would walk out the front door in the middle of the winter, in their pajamas. Extremely dangerous situation. We have clients who live near, major thoroughfares or highways or roads. You don't want them walking out of their house and walking into traffic. With 24 when we do 24/7 care where it's 12-hour shifts, we tend to have 5 or so aides working on that or working with that client because we try and keep everybody in a work week under 40 hours so there's no overtime. We're trying to mitigate and keep the cost down as much as possible. With live-in care, we have two caregivers. So there's less caregivers, less coming and going. So for someone who has cognitive decline, that's also a benefit. Having less people can be less confusing. But again, we offer options. We tailor everything to the client's needs, desires, wants, and what works best for them.
Yeah, that again from some past experience, there comes a time where even though I desire or some family member desires or whatever, you get to the point of where it just doesn't work anymore. That this person just needs so much help. You get to a stage where it's difficult. Would you get involved with transitioning somebody into a nursing facility, guiding them or whatever at that point in time?
Absolutely. So, there are cases where people make that decision that, staying home is not the correct option for them anymore, and they need to go to a nursing home or whatnot. So yes, we work, we have personally great relationships with many of the nursing homes, rehabs, long-term facilities, in our territory here on the North Shore of Long Island. So we work directly in helping to give people the different options available to them, make introductions to those facilities so that they can make a decision that works best for them and their families.
Well, you mentioned at the beginning too that I would assume then that suppose somebody has a comfort level and during this transition, this right at home person could still go to the facility to do whatever the care plan might call for. Would that be a fact? I mean,
absolutely, 100%. Oftentimes we either work in a transitory nature, helping that person acclimate to their new facility, or sometimes just based on that client's needs, they still need one-on-one care. Again, when you move to a long-term care facility, you don't necessarily get one-on-one care. Generally speaking, care there could be one client to or 8 clients to one person working in the facility. So if they need that one-on-one care, we still will work with that person in that long-term setting,
which would be a good thing.
Absolutely, yep. Help keep them safe and comfortable.
So you cover all of Long Island.
So Right at Home is a franchise. So there are actually 5 different offices located throughout Long Island. Our specific office covers Plainview to Stony Brook, all along the North Shore.
Okay, that's good to know.
North Shore meaning Nassau County or
Nassau County into Suffolk County. So like from
the whole North Shore,
to Huntington, Comac, Smithtown, Stony Brook.
So like north of the LIE,
correct.
Kind of.
Yeah, generally speaking, north of the LIE, correct.
And that if somebody calls this, what's the best number for them to call? If you could give us that, I want to make sure we get that. And certainly, if somebody calls that number, you could refer them to if they're not in your area.
Yep. So our number is 516-719-5999, and our Suffolk County number is 631-352-0022. Although to be honest, both numbers ring in both offices, so you only need to know one number, but those would be the 2 numbers.
Do me a favor, just repeat that Nassau number again.
So 631-352.
No, Nassau, that's Nassau. The 516 number.
The 516-719-5999 number is our Nassau number, and 631-352-0022 is our Suffolk number. And
just to review your website, I know Otto found his way on there, so I want to make sure everybody else.
Yep. So that's www.rightathomeli.com.
And anybody listening or watching the show, if you didn't get that, you can always call 311 or 516-869-6311, and we will be happy to give you all the contact information for Right at Home.
By the way, the guides on there, there was one I looked at, Adult Caregiving Guide. There's a lot of really good stuff, even if they don't use Right at Home, to be honest about it. There's a lot of good material that could be helpful and ultimately lead you to Right at Home. But the facts are that it might give you some information That's educational. It's valuable stuff.
Absolutely. We have some of the guides that are on our website include our fall prevention guide, ways to pay for in-home senior care guide, aging in place guide, adult caregiving guide, supporting loved ones with dementia or cognitive change, understanding grief, right conversations, which I think is actually maybe one of the more underestimated guides, learning how to have these difficult conversations with loved ones. So on top of that, we have hundreds of blogs that maybe drill down into more specific topics that are available on the website.
Okay, well, perfect timing. We do have to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We will be back in just a moment.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Lohse, Christina Liu, and Dan Cox. We've been speaking with Gregg Balbera, who is the owner of Right at Home. And you're a certified senior advisor. So I know, Otto, you had a question, but I wanted to just ask exactly what is this, a senior certified advisor?
So took some classes, passed some exams that are really focused on servicing seniors. So there's so many different topics, whether it's providing home care or having intelligent conversations about how to pay for home care, talking about finances. So there's a lot of different topics that are senior related. Not all that I'm specifically an expert in, but enough that I can speak intelligently and then refer to somebody else who, I'm not an elder care attorney. So if somebody came to me and had questions about a will or an estate planning, obviously that's not something I'm going to do myself, but I have a lot of different, excellent relationships with with elder care attorneys here on Long Island. So I would point someone in the, give them a couple options, let them reach out and determine who they feel would be the best fit for them. Again, different referrals. Sometimes I do home care, but I don't necessarily do, stair ramps and home modifications, things like putting in, guardrails and chair rails and stair lifts. So I could point the client in the right direction as far as, those types of home care modifications in order to remain safe in their home. So things of that nature. Learning how to, refer responsibly would be, I think, probably the best way to describe that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you used the magic words, how to pay for home care. And I know you had a great booklet on it on your website. Just like my vision is like nursing homes, for example. People try to get to where they can be on Medicaid, but not everybody can do that. You just can't. Fortunately, you can't. All right. So now you're in the private pay category. Are most of your clients in the Medicaid category or private pay category?
So we are a private pay agency. There are agencies that specifically, generally speaking, will service either the private pay side or the Medicaid side. We have chosen to be on the private pay side. We have about 115 or so clients. We have about 200 to 225 aides. We made that decision a long time ago because we really wanted to know our customers, know our caregivers, and really try and make the perfect, match. We kind of view ourselves as a matchmaking business on some level between our clients and our caregivers. Generally speaking, when you're in the Medicaid agency, you can have thousands of clients, that many more thousands of aides, and that is almost more like a supermarket business. Like you're selling milk and bread, over and over and over all day long, and you're just happy to do that. We really prefer to have like a more intimate relationship with our clients, their families, and our caregivers. So personal decision. Everybody does what's right for them, and that was what we decided would be right for us.
So, does the cost? I guess it's like an hourly situation. Does it vary by the task that somebody's doing? on the care plan?
So yes, there's a slight difference in the hourly rate for someone who's maybe just a companion client that isn't receiving, personal care, assistance with bathing, toileting, or dressing, or requiring maybe, hospice care, bedbound care. So it's a couple dollars an hour difference between the companion care versus having an aide.
So,
And how do most people wind up paying? Like, what's the typical track that people go on? Where do they get the money?
Sure. So there's a lot of different tracks that people have taken. Some people have saved, over the course of their lifetimes for just this reason. They wanted to remain home. They don't want to be in a community setting. Many, probably 50% of our clients have long-term care insurance. So those are like life insurance policies, but they're specifically designed to pay for home care. So many of those, many of our clients, took out these policies 20, 30, 40 years ago to provide for just this possibility, that when they got older, whether their spouse would no longer be able to take care of them or that they would just not be able to take care of themselves, that they would be able to pay for home care so that they could remain independent in their home or age in place, which was their desire. A lot of our clients are former teachers or union members here on Long Island or in New York. Anyone who worked as a teacher in one of the New York school districts, those districts, as part of the union program, received a catastrophic care plan, which is very similar to a long-term care policy. So, and one of the things I love is when I get a lot of these calls from people, I'm always asking, well, what did your mom do? What did your dad do? What did your aunt do? And when they tell me that that loved one was a former teacher in a school district in Long Island, I'm like, well, did you know that your loved one probably has a catastrophic care plan, which could be used to pay for these services? I would say that 80% of the time, people have no idea that they either have the plan or that the plan could be used for paying for these services. So I let them know that a simple 10, maybe 15-minute phone call to the union can help that person get to the bottom and find out what their policy provides. And probably 10 or 15% of our clients have that type of policy, and then they're able to use it and put it in force to pay for these services, which is great. They as part of a union member, they had to pay dues, so they were paying for these policies. And policies are use it or lose it. So if you don't use the policy, you've paid in for years and then you get no benefits. So it's great that they're able to take the benefit.
Yeah, I have long-term care insurance, which I got onto a long time ago. I have no idea anymore what kind of plan I have. Would you get involved with looking at something like that and saying, okay, blah, blah, this is what would happen, provide guidance, in other words?
Absolutely. I look at people's long-term care policies all the time. I wouldn't say that I'm a 100% expert, but compared to most people, usually
you're an expert.
with a quick reading of the policy, I can give people, policies have a lot of different features. There's a daily benefit, meaning how much money they get per day to pay for these services. There can be a lifetime benefit, X amount of dollars that they can use to spend. Many policies have what's known as an elimination period, meaning that they have to pay out of pocket for 30 days or 60 days or 100 days before the policy goes into effect. Here at Right at Home, we'll do once that person basically calls the long-term care company and says, hey, I'm working with Right at Home. After that, we do everything for them. We will submit everything to the long-term care company for them. The invoices, daily care notes. If they need our nurse to come do an assessment, we do that at no charge. That could be once a year for some of the long-term care insurance companies. So we really handle everything. We really want to take as much off the plate for our clients and their loved ones as possible.
So they would pay you directly. You wouldn't have to file claims.
Yeah, they'll pay us and we'll get them reimbursed from the long-term care insurance. And we do that on a weekly basis. So every week we're submitting, for our clients to the long-term care companies.
So actually, I'd like to I wanted to just touch on a topic because we don't have that much time left. Sorry about that, Otto. A very important topic and actually has a theme that we like to focus on, things like you're never too old. You're never too old to take a new journey, a new path, make a new friend. And one of the topics you had provided was improving the quality of life. And how does one improve the quality of life when, maybe they're, I'm going to say homebound, or maybe, homebound for the most part, or, have limited friends or families. As we get older, we lose friends. A lot of people don't like to make new friends or don't know how to make new friends. So what are some of the things that you help people do, or can make some advice or recommendations?
Sure. So that's a great topic. So some of the things I think that improve the quality of life, just to kind of tick off the big things, and we'll talk about them a little more in depth, is one, independence, satisfying relationships, and having a positive mindset. So first, again, independence. I think we kind of touched on that a little.
Yeah.
The aide can come in. We don't want to do those things for the clients that they can do for themselves, because one of the things that we have learned over the 10 years is that oftentimes if you start doing things for clients, they'll stop doing that. And like muscle memory in general, if you stop doing things, you lose the ability to do things, and cognitively that can actually cause decline. So whatever and wherever our clients can do things on their own, we want to encourage that behavior. Satisfying relationships. One, the relationship between the aide and the caregiver can, as I said before, can somewhat take the place of or be in conjunction with family relationships. So I think that's a big part of it. But also, since our aides can drive our clients, driving them to senior centers, driving them to the library. A lot of the libraries have, classes and programs and book readings. So getting them out of the house so they're not just, within those four walls, 24/7, 365 days a year, getting them out. I think that is really super important to helping people improve their quality of life. And then finally, just having that, that positive mindset. A lot of seniors suffer from depression or anxiety. Being alone, especially being alone in your house all the time, can exacerbate, those feelings of depression and anxiety. So again, the aide and the caregiver being able to one, providing that companionship, and then two, getting them out of the house, taking a walk, going to the park, helping them learn how to cope with situations, new situations, right? If they've always been independent their whole life, and now all of a sudden they have a physical or a cognitive impairment, and they're learning to cope with that. We can help provide tools and activities and exercises that can help them cope. A lot of our clients can get PT in the home. Many of them don't even realize that they're entitled, especially through Medicare. So we help a lot of our clients get home health services at home. That can be speech, it can be OT, it can be PT. If a person has Parkinson's, maybe they're having swallowing issues, so we can get someone to come in and work with them through these issues. Our aide can be there to do follow-up exercises and help them get stronger and get better at the things that they're now capable of doing, in their new reality. So I think those are all super important things that, having an aide at home can certainly help improve the quality of life.
Does technology come into this at all?
That is a great question. So we obviously provide the physical. We actually recently partnered with a company called Sensi. It's an Israeli-based AI company. And what Sensi does is we put audio pods, like generally 3 of them, throughout the house. So over a 2-week period, Sensi, it listens. Normal conversation basically just gets dismissed. But if someone is going to the bathroom, let's say 7 times a day between 9 to 5, if there's no history of falls, what Sensi does is over the first 2 weeks, it learns what the client's behavior is. So that, let's say then in week 4 or week 5, if a person who normally goes to the bathroom, 7 times between 9 to 5, if they go to the bathroom 14 times, the Sensi will actually alert us here in the office to say, hey, Jane Doe client has gone to the bathroom 6 times more than usual. Perhaps they have a urinary tract infection. So we can come in, have our nurse go visit the client, make an appointment for the patient to see their primary care physician, which we can drive them to. we can basically come in and stop a lot of things from basically becoming far worse, as a situation. As another example, we had a client that lost their spouse, and what Sensi found was every night, all of a sudden at 9 o'clock at night, this person was having suicidal conversations with themselves at 9 o'clock at night because they were so lonely and they missed their loved one. So what we did was we had a meeting with the family, and we said, okay, every day at 8 o'clock to 8:30, we want someone from the family to call between 8 o'clock, 8:30, get grandma on the phone for a half an hour, and keep her on the phone, keep her distracted, speak to her, let her know that, yes, her spouse is gone, but there's so much family in her life, so many loved ones that she still has all these deep connections with. And what we found was those conversations completely changed her outlook on life. So we're trying to combine the physical help that we provide with the technology in today's day and age.
Yeah,
right, and the Zoom, they can Zoom instead of call.
Or Siri or Alexa, or that kind of thing.
Yep. A lot of our aides also, clients will have either if they have an iPhone or whatever phone or an iPad. A lot of our aides will do Zooms and FaceTimes with loved ones who are not located nearby, or even if they are located nearby but they can't get to the house that day. So we can kind of help be the bridge for the technology that some of our seniors can no longer master on their own.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times here. Like you can use, I don't want to use the name because I have one right here, but they can use them for companionship, if you will. They can listen to music. They can
like a Siri, Alexa, or something like that.
Right.
Absolutely.
They can listen to a lot of different things.
And music itself can be extremely soothing, especially for people who have cognitive decline and are experiencing sundowning symptoms late afternoon, early evening. We often find that finding out what type of music they loved and putting on, music generally at a low volume, but music that they're familiar with can be a very calming factor.
It's all good.
Yeah. We've been doing, Otto actually kind of brought it to the forefront, these devices, the Alexa and the Siris and all these other that, you could play the music, or you can set it to do an alarm, or it can be your contact list, when you sync it with the phone. And it really is remarkable. I don't even know how I've lived with that. I mean, every day I wake up and the first thing I say, what's the temperature? Then it tells me the traffic, and then I get annoyed. It even tells me what I need to order on Amazon. Like it misses me that I didn't order that day. So, I mean, those kinds of things seem to be really good. And we've been doing some programming with that. We do a lot of that. So I love the part too, where you talk about like how to build a friendship, or, I always think to myself, at my age and as I'm getting older, is a friend is a gift you give yourself. So, you kind of, I don't want to say get rid of the ones, but, you kind of move away from people who maybe brought stress in your life and kind of go toward the people that are a little bit more positive. We'd like to make recommendations like that. At this age, you might as well go for people who are positive. If there are people who want to be your friend, it's great to have new friends, and it's something special and reinvigorating.
There's a basic little thing. It's don't let somebody rain on your parade. It's a trite statement, but it's true.
Right. I agree 100%. And sometimes when you do actually, I don't want to say get rid of that person, maybe move away from more of a person who would be toxic in your life kind of regains a little bit more positivity, when you don't want to take on other people's service, especially if you have some of your own, it's hard to do that. But, it's great advice. Is this on the website too, where you talk about quality of life?
Absolutely, yes. As I said, we have many blogs, hundreds of blogs on the website. So if you go into like the resources, latest articles area, you'll see a lot of blogs come in, and then from there you can type in, if you have a specific topic in mind, you can type in to search for specific topics, and lots of options will definitely come up.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us again for a full hour. Great information. Again, any of our listeners want to contact or do a little research, you can also give 311 a call, and Christina or I will be happy to give you the information. Have a great weekend, Gregg. And again, thank you for giving us an hour of your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was always a pleasure to speak with you and to outreach to your community.